I think that most companies think they try to do that or think they do that, but they don't. Um, Yesterday, one of the opening questions was, how good do you know the customer? And do you know the customer better than a good friend? And most of the people in the room responded, we know our customer better than we know a good friend. And I came on stage and I said, as a customer, I don't have that feeling. I don't have the feeling that you guys are my best friends. Your companies are not my best friends. I'm not treated like your best friend. So I think that what is in between saying that you're customer centric and really being customer centric is how do you measure it? Most of the companies still apply in external KPIs. And these are KPIs that in most of the times relate to operational efficiency. Even though it has to do with the customer, it's still about operational efficiency. How do we hunt as many customers as we can? How do we keep them locked in? How do we keep them happy? And then in between brackets, at a minimal cost. And how do we maximize their value? But that's not customer centricity. That is being customer obsessed because of old KPIs. And I'm not against the old KPIs, but that is not what I mean with customer centricity. Customer centricity is a business model in which you start with the customer in the center of your business model, and then you allow your customer to design his own desired customer experience with you, like friend to friend. And then you can only respond to that. You can facilitate it. And then the only thing you can measure is how good am I in facilitating that customer experience? How happy is my friend? Like you do in a one-on-one. And therefore you use your social media, and therefore you use all your communication tools to measure, is my customer really happy with what I'm offering my customer? And that for me is real extreme customer centricity. And I don't see that many companies that really actually do it right now. It is a warning. I'm a big believer that technology is going to change the interaction between companies and customers. But I'm also warning companies to not only invest in technology. They should invest in technology. They should even over-invest in technology to make sure that they are in tune with that technology customer, with that digital customer. They need to be, and they need to use technology to do the basics right, to do the operational efficiency as good as you can, because customers have zero tolerance to digital failure. And we expect quite a lot from the companies that we deal with. But companies tend to forget that on top of that, you need human interaction, you need emotions, you need passion, you need creativity. And so they tend to think, okay, if I can digitize to the max, then I don't need people anymore. And that's a mistake that many companies are bound to make. So the warning is, yeah, first of all, don't only rely on your people, rely on technology. But once you've installed the right technology, rely on your people to bring emotion into that relationship with your customer. And I see so many companies that tend to forget that. So yes, it's a warning, absolutely. First of all, I do believe in machine learning and in gathering data. When we're talking one-on-one, that's what we do all the time. We talk, we transfer data. I get your data and I calculate with your data and I respond to that. That's what I do. But that's what I do one-on-one. The title of my keynote is Connect to Many, Engage Individuals. So as a company, you can connect to many. But the very moment you connect to many, you get much data. But if you want to engage individuals, then you have to use all that data to enable a company not only to have many customers, but to have an engagement with each single one of them. So you cannot rely on people to do that. Artificial intelligence can help you to do that. And I'm not meaning straightforward linear cross-selling or upselling. I'm sick and tired of that type of linear thinking. You've bought this, and then you're going to buy that. That's too simple. But if you apply artificial intelligence on that, that can create metadata, that can create data that are on top of those data, that can make new connections and think ahead of you, ahead of the customer, like I do when we interact, then I think that technology can really help a company to engage individuals. So to a big extent, it can be done with technology. But in the end, we still want some human touch, some human interaction. So what I'm a strong believer in is we used to think that technology would enable people and that technology would support people. And I'm a big believer that people will support technology. So that technology will do most of the job and that we need people to go on top of that whenever needed. And that is whenever technology kind of signals, okay, here my customer needs real human interface, and then use the human interface. And that's rethinking the balance between technology and people. And that for me is the big challenge that every company is facing for the moment. When and to what extent am I going to apply data management, big data, and artificial intelligence? And to what extent am I going to use people and develop new KPIs to measure what's the effectiveness of what I'm doing? I love a Dutch hotel chain called Citizen M. They have designed hotels with the customer in the center of what they've designed. They start with the customer and with customer experience. And they rely on a lot of self-service. You do a lot yourself when you're in that hotel. You check in, you check out, you do it yourself. But they still have as many people as a traditional hotel. The only difference is their people are not there to do hospitality stuff. Their people are there to support customers whenever needed. They're there for you. They're not there to do processes. They're there for you, to help you whenever needed. And one of the KPIs that they apply is how many times is a customer so happy about the customer experience that he Facebooks, that he Twitters, that he puts it on Instagram. And they have a 51% for the moment. 51% of visitors post something about their experience on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And I love that new type of KPI, to be honest. I come from harsh reality myself. I've been running companies in between 1989 and 2010. I applied my first CRM system. We didn't even call it CRM in 1989. We didn't even call it CRM. It was in MS-DOS, can you imagine? And I've always been a business leader that adapted new technologies very fast. I was one of the first to use cellular phones, to use laptops, to use smartphones, to use tablets for my salespeople and for my back office, to enable them to react faster on customer needs. And I've always built companies based on customer needs. It is, let's stop, really stop. Let's reverse the arrow. Companies used to think, okay, we have products, and now let's go and find customers for our products. What I always did, even though I had production company to run, was what do my customers want? And start from that point of view. And really do that on an everyday basis. Start your management team meetings with the voice of the customer. What is my customer needing? I had boardroom meetings in a room like this, and I would always have one other chair what was empty. And every time I said, what is he or she thinking about it? Is what we do really helping her or him? So my end slide was the slide I've been using in my business life all the time. Break conventions and rules. I always loved to break conventions and rules. Why do we do what we do? Is that better for the customer? Is that better for us? If it's only better for us, why do we do it? It's kind of lean manufacturing, but for customers. So break conventions and rules. The second I've always done in my whole life, and that's what every business leader can do, is reduce customer friction. How can I make life for my customer as easy as can be? And can I make it easier? How can I reduce the number of steps? How can I reduce the number of processes? How can I reduce the complaint process? That's one of the big issues in every company, complaints. I was one of the first companies in my segment, in my sector, to say we don't have complaints. If there's a complaint, okay, it's our mistake, always. It's only 4% or 3% or 0.X% of what we do. So why bother about it? So reduce customer friction and then pimp customer experience. Make it fun. Every customer likes to buy, even if it's business to business, likes to buy from a company he or she likes. Think about how can I pimp my customer experience? And that is human. That is allow your people to really help a customer. And that means that you have to have the guts as a business leader to take away processes from your salespeople and from your back office people, because if they are kind of molded into processes, they can never help a customer because they're not allowed. Then they have to think, okay, customer says this, tack, 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 what do I need to do? But then you can never design that. So the only thing you can do there is value-driven behavior. That is, what are the values of my company? And that can be very simple. So you have a list like, this is what you can do and not can, these are your do's and don'ts. You can cut a big cross over that and say, okay, so the only rule is it good for us and is it good for the customer? Or is it good for the customer? Okay, then you're allowed to do that. It takes guts. And it means that you have to take away a number of the measurements. You can no longer measure how many customers do you deal with a day, how many telephone calls do you do an hour. But what you measure is that customer satisfied when you finish your telephone call, or is that customer satisfied when you finish that call, that face-to-face call? And that's easy. That's easy to do. That's something that every business leader can do as from tomorrow. And what is new? And I've never been able to do that because I left business, that type of business, in 2010. That's leverage the network. The networks in 2010 were not the same as the networks right now. We were still discovering what it was all about. Facebook, Twitter. People were not that into networks right then, and even we as business leaders did not really have a clue what we could do with it. But if I would have to do it right now, I would do the zero-based exercise every day. And the zero-based exercise is, I have no marketing department, I have no sales department, I have no marketing budget, I have no sales budget. How am I going to use my customers as my infrastructure on a daily basis? And then I get my marketing budget back. But am I going to use my marketing budget now in exactly the same way, yes or no? Or is my marketing budget the budget that I'm going to use to reduce customer friction and to pimp my customer experience? Because if I reduce customer friction, if I pimp my customer experience, then I can even make better use of my customers to leverage the network and as my sales and marketing department. So it's rethinking your P&L structure. And that's what we are doing with a number of companies. It's not spend more money. It is spend the same amount of money, but spend it in a different way. And that is that first rule, break conventions and rules. The rules and conventions, as we know it, is also our P&L structure, was built in the old age, when there were no networks, when you had not the possibility to leverage the network like we can today, that you didn't have the possibility, the technical possibility to connect to many and engage individuals. But now we can. But we have to spend money on being able to do that. But that's only a matter of reallocating how you spend your money. Don't spend your money on traditional type of sales or traditional type of marketing. That's no longer valid in this new world. Use your money to pimp your customer experience. Use your money to reduce customer friction. And then your customers can become your sales and marketing department. It can even become your infrastructure. Yeah, we have the experience of helping our companies and beginning somewhere. And what we always do is you have to work on two sides at the same time. And the first is we always want to buy in from top-end management that they understand the need to do something, that they understand that the old world is no longer there, that the way they did business was absolutely extremely good in the old world, but no longer valid, or no longer valid in the same way in the new world. And we have to convince senior management about the necessity to change the company. What we always tell them, and I'm a big believer in that, that is, don't throw away everything that you've learned, everything that you have, all your knowledge or your heritage. Just reassemble it in a different way, because that's what a startup company does as well. They don't invent anything new. The only thing they do is connecting the dots. They use existing elements, make new combinations of them to create new customer needs. And new customer needs is because there is a new customer out there. He's already on Mars. He's sitting on Mars and he's waiting for companies to arrive on Mars, and the first to arrive on Mars will win. And we are settling up for a journey, and most companies only fly to the moon and then they're already happy, but the customer is on Mars. That is what we have to convince senior management. So a Mars shot is not enough. It needs to be, a moonshot is not enough. It needs to be a Mars shot. And then we are looking for the frustrated enthusiasts in a company, or the positive guys that are looking for something more in that company, that are looking to break the rules, that feel that something needs to be done. And there are people like that in every company. And what we do is ask the senior management, give us those people. These are your internal change agents. And what we do is we take them for 1 week in a pressure cooker. A pressure cooker is what are techniques, what is happening in the world, understanding of how networks work, understanding how you do a zero-based exercise, but also understand how do you present it to your senior management if you have an idea, how you present your idea to your peers, how do you make sure that you get your peers to support you when you have a new idea. So it's not only about understanding, it's also about techniques and skills to actually do it. And then they go back to their job, and the only thing we ask of the senior management is now give them the opportunity to start the change and spread it like a virus. We do believe that innovation is some type of virus, and we're amazed how much people like change once the senior management provides them with some safety that they can do that, with some framework that they can do that. And if you help them, we do an exercise after 2 days, and after 2 days they have to reinvent their own part of their business or their own business. It's amazing what people come up with. And they look at it and they say, is that me? If I had thought about that, yes, you did. You were already rewired after 2 days, because it's a matter of rewiring. I was referring to a movie. I'm going to refer to another movie. It's The Martian. Have you ever seen The Martian? Yeah. I love that movie because of the parallel with what we need to do in a business. He's left on Mars. He's left on Mars. That's like businesses, all of a sudden, geez, the world around me has changed that much. Am I doomed? And most companies are kind of paralyzed because they have the feeling that they are doomed. But they're not doomed. And then he starts thinking about the first problem. And he kind of says, I calculated the shit out of that. I did the calculation. I used everything I knew to find a solution. But then what he does, I like it a lot. He uses all the elements that are left on Mars. He has got nothing else. But he disassembles them and he assembles them to something else. So he's using existing elements to build something new, and that's what I like, and that is what every company can do. That is, don't have the feeling that you're doomed. Start with the first problem and use existing elements and put it back together. And then you see him solving the next problem, the next problem, the next problem. And from time to time, he has to go all the way, because at a certain moment he realizes that he needs a device that is left on a satellite that is somewhere out on Mars. And he has that Mars mobile, and then he has to go to collect it. And if he fails to get there, he will die. But if he doesn't get it, he's going to die anyway. So he has to go all in. And that's also what companies need, to have the guts from time to time. And then his attitude, his breaking all the rules and conventions, is spreading like a virus. Because then it spreads to the mothership that's on its way to Earth. And then they start rethinking the way they do business. And they decide to not use the ship to land, but to use the ship as a recovery tool. And then the virus spreads even that much that even NASA starts rethinking their attitude. It spreads like a virus. I don't know, it's a movie. But nevertheless, the parallel with what companies need to do is so obvious. Don't have the feeling that you're doomed. Don't think it'll pass and that you will be saved by accident. It's not going to happen. You have to do something about it. And the only thing you can do is start with the first problem and try to solve that first problem on a daily basis. And don't look for some kind of miracle, but use what you have, like a startup. And do it with that. Be creative. So, look for creative people. Look for passionate people. Look for people that can bring emotion. And they're in your company. In most companies, they're there. They're hidden somewhere, or they've assembled. They've like a chameleon. They have adapted another color. They're all blue, but underneath that blue, they might have another color. And that's what we try to do with companies. And because we do it like that, our intervention can be very, very short. Because once we have rewired a number of people in that company, they will start rewiring the whole company. And not rewiring the whole company like in complete chaos, because they're just using existing elements. They're using whatever is in that company, knowledge and people and skills and heritage. And we see companies really transfer, some pretty slow, some faster, but at some extent the speed always increases because the virus starts spreading. And another good thing about the virus is that once you have that innovational drive in your company, it is there. It's not going to go away, because it's not one project that the company needs to do. It's a constant flow of new projects all the time, because we're living in a VUCA world. The world will never be stable for the next couple of years, because the customer is the one that sets the pace. It's the networks that set the pace, and that goes extremely fast and extremely unpredictable. So a company needs to be agile, needs to be innovational driven, and then you don't have the means, you don't have the tools, you don't have the budgets to bring in new elements all the time. So you have to do it with your existing elements and be creative with your existing elements. And once companies start realizing that, and once people start realizing that, and once even the management start realizing that, doing business is big fun. It used to be so boring. When I did it, it was boring. You only could run your competition by being a little bit faster, a little bit better, producing a little bit, your product a little bit better, a little bit cheaper. And that made the difference. That was boring. Now it's not boring anymore, it's exciting. I really mean that.